Hello, I'm Pamela Rivette. I'm a 5-star psychic medium recognized by CBS as one of the top 5 psychics in the Houston area. And I am joined here today with Mrs. Victoria Alvarado, who is also recognized as one of the top 5 psychic mediums in Houston as well by CBS. Thank you for being with me today, Victoria.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
I would like to thank all of our audience members for being with us here this evening while we discuss our topic about angelic communication and how they communicate with us. One of the ways angels communicate with us is they cause our ears to ring. Like when you blow a dog whistle and a dog howls because it hurts her ears. Well, the tone when angels speak is much the same and causes our ears to ring. If it's a regular low hum, it's usually a regular angel of what I call angel of God. When you get the high pierced ringing, it's usually the archangels like Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. And what I try to teach my clients to do is to train themselves to consider the ringing in their ears like a dull roar of a crowded room, and the angel being the person in front of them that they can hear perfectly clearly, and just train to listen past that ring to the voice in front of them. Now, with my own personal experiences, when the angels of God, as I call them, come through, their voice reminds me of like a metallic Alvin and the Chipmunk. And then the archangels, they still have a metallic twang to them, but they remind me of a cross between the high-pitched screech of an owl and somebody taking their nails down the chalkboard. But it's not your human ear that hears it, so you're not gonna want to go shudder like that when you hear it. And you should always pay attention when you get these rings, because if you can't train yourself to necessarily figure out how to listen beyond the ringing in your ears, what you can do is listen to the intensity and the length. I've had to do that before I learned to listen past the ring myself. And what it is the lower rings, usually something will happen within 24 to 48 hours and they're trying to warn you something's coming. When you get the real high-pitched ones, it's usually within 12 to 24 hours. And the intensity of the ring, as far as the length of it, is going to be dependent on exactly whether it's a positive thing coming or a negative thing coming. Because on the negative ones, it's going to be more long drawn out of their warnings. Now that's one way that they can communicate with you. Another way they can communicate with you is through your dream state. And one of the ways you can actually ask them is as you fall asleep at night, clear your mind of everything else and just visualize yourself sitting on the side of a real peaceful pond or lake. Even visualize you dragging your own feet in the water and the current of the water tugging at your feet. Feel the coolness of the water, breathe in the fresh air. Put yourself like you're really there. And once you can see, feel, and hear that area that you're visualizing like you're really there, then ask one of the angels that you choose to come speak with you to come and talk to you. And they will in your dream state. So make sure you keep a notebook and a pen or a pencil by your bed, because as soon as you wake up, you want to write down everything you saw, down to the colors, the people you saw, and so forth. Because it may not mean exactly what you saw in your dream, but each thing you saw in your dream will have a meaning behind it. And the reason why you want to write it down as soon as you wake up from it is because if you decide, well, I'll just go back to sleep and write it down in the morning, you're going to forget some significant information. So you always write it down as soon as you wake up from it. Now, another way that they communicate with us is through messages of numbers, repetitious numbers like 111, 222, 333, and so forth. And you may see these on clocks, license plate numbers, totals on cash register receipts as your totals being rung up at the drive-thru or whatever have you. Well, Doreen Virtue is known as the Angel Lady. She is the best resource ever to get the information of what these numbers mean. So when you see these repetitious numbers repeatedly, always go to Google or Yahoo and do a search for Doreen Virtue's angel message with the numbers of the exact numbers you saw. and she'll explain it there on the internet for you. It's free information right there. Now, another way they talk to us is actually physically showing themselves to us. And those who don't necessarily see face to face can maybe catch them out of the glimpse of your corner of your eye and your peripheral vision. Or you'll like see them lights going back and forth in front of you. They fly with the speed of light, and what you're catching is them flying back and forth, letting you know, hey, we're here, we got this. One of those examples of that situation occurring a couple years back when we had that real bad storm come through and all the hail and stuff knocked out the police officers' windows in Hitchcock. I was at Southeast Memorial with my fiance, and he had gotten hurt on the job earlier that day. Well, it was storming really, really bad. And all of a sudden, I started seeing the little flashes of light going up and down, up and down. And I told him, I go, something is fixing to happen. So he starts grabbing a hold of my hand really, really, really tight. And he goes, I ain't dying, am I? I go, no, just something's fixing to happen. He goes, are you serious? And I said, yeah, something's fixing to happen. The angels are here. I see them flying. Well, as soon as I said that, there was a loud crack of thunder and all the lights went out. Of course, now I got his nails dug into my arm. And he goes, is everything okay? I go, everything's fine. I go, but we do have a tornado go over on top of us right now. And as soon as I said that, the lights came back on through the generator. And if they had been solid form, nobody would have been able to stood up. It was just wall-to-wall angels standing there. Now, an angel's true form is of the light. So they have light hair, light eyes, light complexion. But in this instance, so everybody feels comfortable, they show themselves as each ethnic background that was there. So there was African American angels, Italian angels, Asian angels, white angels. No matter what race was there in that hospital, that's what was there. And I knew we was going to be okay because they were all there protecting us. And then it wasn't maybe 20, 30 minutes later, you hear about all hell breaking loose in Hitchcock and all the windows in the police cars being demolished. That's one way they let you know they're around. You can actually see them. But don't dismiss it. You know, you might think it's just a catch of the light somewhere or someone flashing a camera or something. A lot of time it's not. It's your actual angels letting you know something's fixing to happen and we're here for you. And you'll probably notice when you see things like that soon after something does happen, but you end up being okay. Now, another way that they communicate is through basically, you know how we always pray and we say, I ask you for a sign, show me what you're talking about, you know, show me you're here to help me. Well, about a month and a half ago, every night for like 2 weeks in a row, I was praying for the 5 angels of prosperity and abundance to surround me and so forth. Well, after about 2.5 weeks of that, I got an email from one particular radio show, and I did the show. And then my producer, Van Shotwell, contacted me the very next day and asked me if I would help her on some projects. In exchange, she would help me get something going of my own, which is this is what we got, Parachat. Well, anyways, that night I spoke to her. I asked Archangel Michael to show me a sign that if this was one of the doors that he was wanting me to walk through in order to achieve the prosperity and abundance that I'd been requesting. Well, you know how when you get stuff in the mail, you get these little mailers, right? Well, I was opening the package that I had ordered off of Amazon, and there was a little advertisement from Franklin Mint with an Archangel Michael statue. That was my sign. So even though we don't always recognize the signs, you just have to be open to seeing the signs, because they will always let you know they're there. All you have to do is ask for it and be open to the sign that they choose to show you. One of the situations with my own experience with angelic communication was the dream state, like I was talking about earlier. I'd say like about 17 years ago, I had a hernia because of my youngest son. And then about 2 years ago, I woke up from a dream in black and white, and in the dream, I died. Well, there's an old adage, if you die in your dream, you don't wake up. BS. I woke up, I'm here now. But anyways, I was kind of freaked out about it, and I kind of just dismissed it. Next night, same dream, died different way though, still black and white. Well, this time it freaked me out a little bit, and I told my fiance, I go, if this hernia does not go down by 4 o'clock tomorrow, I need to go to the hospital. Well, it didn't go down. And I made sure I listened, and I was at that hospital at 4 o'clock. And if anybody around here knows Southeast Memorial Hospital, that place is almost constantly busy. There's hardly ever a time where it's slow. I walked right in the door, straight up to the intake window. Nobody was in there, not a soul. They took me back there. They took my vitals and this and that. They sent me to the MRI machine or whatever that was, ultrasound. And when I came back, there was a whole bunch of people there, and the nurse made the comment, where did all these people come from? So it was almost like the angels had actually just parted the sea of people to make sure I got there as long as I listened to them and got there when they told me. Well, I was already mindset to be operated on the next day. I didn't think the same day. Doctor comes in right off the bat and he goes, I'm taking you into surgery right now. It's emergency surgery. I started to cry. I'm like thinking, wait a minute, why am I crying? I already know I'm going to be okay. So I automatically just got that stiff upper lip, put up with it, got it done, got it over with. Doctor comes in after the surgery and he goes, you know what, you're a very lucky lady. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, if you had waited any longer, we would either had to have cut some of the bowel and remove it because it would have died, and you would have stood a chance of getting fecal matter in your bloodstream, which could have killed you. He goes, but you came in soon enough, so he was able to just open it up a little bit more, push it back in, sew you back up, and you're good as gold. And I just smiled and I said, I kind of already knew that. And I told him about the experience. Now, angels also give you messages in the form of what I call earth angels. To give you an example of this, actually there's 2 examples. First 6 months my fiance and I was together, I had a $600 light bill. We already paid $300 of it. Still needed to come up with the other $300. Well, I decided, we was at Adu and House Street, I think, something like that, where there's a 4-way stop there in Alvin off Adu. And I just started praying. And my fiance goes, well, I don't know why you're praying. He don't answer no one's prayers. I go, you know what? He's always answered my prayer, and you can't tell me any different. Well, he kept egging it on, bad talking prayer. And I said, well, you see that tree across the street by that stop sign? He goes, yeah. I go, you better shut your effing mouth. Otherwise, I'm going to crash into that tree and kill us both. That's how sure I am that my prayer will be answered. He shut up because he didn't know me that well. He didn't think I really wouldn't do it. Well, we get home. About 10 minutes after I walk in the door, I get a call from a client who's actually in our audience today, Miss Jerry Pearson. And she called for a 2-hour mediumship session, which, bam, $300. The light bill was paid. Another instance of an angelic guidance through a person here on earth. About a month and a half later from that, we were needing money for $40 to get gas and cigarettes. I started praying again. Robert goes, oh, you ain't going to do that again. I go, what do you mean? It worked? He goes, oh, that was just a coincidence. I go, watch. So I started praying again. And this guy comes down the street that had been there actually 2 weeks earlier to look at the 5th wheel we had in the backyard because my fiance scrapped. Well, he comes down the driveway as I'm finishing up my 3rd prayer, because I always say it 3 times in a row. He pulls in the driveway and he goes, hey, do you still have that luggage rack back on that 5th wheel? And I said, sure do. He goes, how much do you want for it? I go, $40. Bam, $40 right in my hand. They will answer you. They will show you they're there. But the key is to have ultimate faith in what it is that you are requesting from them. But you also got to realize they will always make sure that we have what it is we are in need of, not necessarily what we want. And there are certain lessons that we have to learn in this lifetime. And because of those lessons, they may not be able to interfere right off the bat.